Good afternoon, listeners. You're listening to Lament of Hope blog and podcast. I'm really I'm blessed today. I'm speaking with Katy Bowser Hutson, and she has recently written a book called Now I Lay Me Down to Fight, which is a collection of poetry and writings about her journey with breast cancer. Katy is a poet as well as a believer, and she's articulated her struggle beautifully in this book. I recommend, you'll see a link to her website in the podcast, and I recommend taking a look at the book. You can order it through her website. Um, but I think it can be especially encouraging if you or someone you know is going through cancer, even as a believer, and how to walk with the Lord through something so difficult. It's interesting because I actually just got word this morning that my husband's grandfather died of stomach cancer. So it's interesting how pertinent this appears today, at least for me and my family. Um, Katy, I want to ask you to kind of get started. Um, what is it like daily living with cancer? How would you describe it?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, let me go ahead and say that at this point, I'm after cancer. So this is a retrospective thought here. And the way that I wrote the book is actually the poetry that I wrote. Almost all of them were written during the actual time of cancer and treatment.
Yeah,
And the essays that kind of knit it together are all retrospective. Um, so um, living with cancer at the time was a it it's kind of this I wish I could draw you a line graph because it as the challenges and expectations and new information and new griefs continue to
yeah,
grow. um there's kind of it's kind of a long slow wearing down. I think part of what is hard about a cancer diagnosis and then the going through it is you're just taking hit after hit and challenge after challenge. And so when you walk into it, you're suddenly hit with this new terrifying thing, and you take stock of everything that you have to work with to fight it. Um, your community, your faith, your what you really do know, and you figure
yeah,
out what you really do know real fast and start sifting it out, and then you figure out all the things you don't have, and then you figure out all the ways um, that you need to find help.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Did you, um, what do you think was the hardest part about working through it and fighting it? What did you find to be the hardest aspect
Oh
of that?
gosh, the hardest aspect. Well, I have kids and they were 6 and 3 at the time. And my immediate thought was, who's gonna who's gonna share all the things I wanted to share with them if I'm not here? Um,
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
hardest the hardest aspect of cancer, it's I think longing is the hardest part. You realize exactly how much you want to be alive.
Hmm.
Um, you realize all the things that are beautiful, all the things you don't want to let go of yet, um, and that are very good. So there's a sense where cancer is. Um, I don't want to say anything about cancer as a gift, and I don't want to say anything about cancer as beautiful. But one thing that is useful about looking at the possibility of death really close is that the light shines bright in the darkness, and you start to see everything that's beautiful with a black backdrop to it.
Hmm. For you, how long did this battle with cancer last for you?
It was all the actual treatment of it was about 10 months. So in the summertime, I was diagnosed. I just spent a week at Martha's Vineyard with at this wonderful writing retreat. I got the scholarship to go study for a week, go study writing and poetry. And right as I got off the island, I was staying at a friend's place. I looked in the mirror after I took a shower and realized that something was very wrong with my breast. It was hot and pink and puckered, which isn't a typical sign. Like it looked like I had a rash or mastitis, but I
Yeah.
wasn't nursing, so it couldn't be that. And so from there, it was chemo for, let's see, chemo for a few months, and then I had a double mastectomy. And then after that, I had 30 rounds of radiation. And then I had my ovaries removed because it was something that lowered estrogen in my body, and I had a cancer that ate estrogen. And so, in a sense, Danielle, I could say that it lasted 10 months, but also it never goes away. Like even once cancer's done, it's marked you, and I can take inventory of my body right now and tell you all the things that are that are still there. Like I still have places where I have scarring that's tight. And having been through chemo, I'll always be a little tired, a little more tired than I thought. I was immediately put into menopause. Cancer is just a hit, even if, yeah, I'm 6 years out from cancer now, and I'm just aware that I don't know how much of, I never knew how many days I had, and I don't. But yeah, it's a hard battle. I feel I've said this before, but I feel a little bit like Frodo after a ring wraith has stabbed him,
Yeah.
because that's kind of always going to be there. Yeah, it's always going to
What
get me.
were you angry at God after you were diagnosed?
Good question. You know, um, honestly, there were things I was mad about. Oh, but boy, you asked that. That goes straight to things. I have to tell you, it almost brings tears. I was seldom angry directly at God. I was often really sad before God, and I was really mad before God. Um,
Hmm.
and I guess I did get mad at God, but a lot of the times I just did a lot of railing before the face of God.
Hmm.
But I don't know, just the way that I'm wired and the things that I understood and the ways that I saw it. I got real mad at cancer. I got real mad at the fall. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what will get censored on your show, but we have a saying in our family, damn the fall, come Lord Jesus.
Yeah.
Um, I got real mad at everything that was broken. And I did a lot of saying, I mean, why, God? Like I feel like you've got me. I did a lot of why, God. And being frustrated before the face of God and angry before the face of God. It's hard to, I don't know. There's something about when you're also pleading for your life. Um, I don't know. I had a hard time actually getting mad at God because I really, really needed God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I guess I could say both and at the exact same moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
How
hard to untangle those. That's why I wrote poetry.
how did you when you were, your family, your kids at the time, how did you process it with them? Was that something that you found difficult? Like it was more something you wanted to, the emotions you were feeling, yes, you expressed in the poetry, but did you want it to be more private, just you? Or was it something that you just craved getting to share it with your family? But how did you balance, their lives with the fact that there's this calamity that's befallen you, but also being able to allow that joy in that comes from the day to day with kids and family? How did you
Hmm.
process that?
Well, as far as the kids go, um, I don't think you can really keep stuff like this from kids. On the other hand, you can tell them what they can understand and not tell. And it didn't feel helpful to tell them things that I didn't know. Like I
Right.
didn't say I might die, or um, that wasn't really helpful to them. What I did say, um, I told my 6-year-old, I had a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I have a really insightful little 6-year-old, or she's now
Hmm.
13-year-old. But but um, I said, Story, I just found out that I have got something called cancer, and it means that there's sickness that's in my body. I said, I don't feel sick at all right now. I can tell that part of my, like, I can tell that my breast is strange and there's something going on in there, but I don't feel sick at all right now. But I do know that I have to get rid of it because it can hurt me. And so the medicine that I have to take and the things that I have to do in order to do that are going to make me sick.
Hmm.
The things that are going to make me better are going to make me sick first. And so I said, this year I'm going to be sick. I'm going to get tired. There are days where I'm going to have to stay in bed all day and all of my hair is going to fall out. And she laughed because she was sick. She's like, what in the world? And so there really is, there's something very sweet. Children are a sweetness. I'll say this more specifically because I don't know how everybody feels. My children were such a sweetness in the middle of cancer treatment.
Hmm.
Um, my heart broke for them that they had to deal with this, um, and that they didn't get as much of me as they wanted. Um, my parents came to town and helped out, and that was pretty lovely. And Kenny, my husband, was fantastic. But kids, boy, the beauty of the sweetness of children. Like there were days where I was so sick and I was in bed, and my 3-year-old, who was supposed to be letting me rest, would sneak in a side door when no one was looking and cuddle with me. And it was just the sweetest comfort.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, kids are have a fantastic sense of empathy and I don't and a sense of I don't really care-ness about what's going on. They just want to be close to me. Um, but as far as explaining that to them, I don't think it's fair to tell children the whole thing because I don't know who said the quote, but I think that luggage is too heavy for them.
Are you talking
Tell
about
them,
like Corey Ten Boom, her book, Hiding
oh
Place? I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
where she
that
talks
yeah.
about with her dad. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. That I think that she is the originator. I've heard it in a couple places. Okay, that's right. I heard that in Pete Peterson's play about it. Yeah. Do you know there's a play of the hiding place? A guy
I
named
have not seen it. Man, I'd love
that's
to.
good. That's really good. Pete Peterson wrote it. Thanks. That helps me that remembering where that is. But yeah, it's too heavy for kids to carry everything that I knew that could happen. So we told them what was
Hmm.
happening. Yeah.
Well,
And we didn't hide that. Yeah.
that must have also been helpful for you in a way though, because I'm guessing, I mean, my personality, and tell me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
for me, I would just be thinking about what could happen. Like that would dominate my mind a lot. That's something
Yeah.
that I'm continuing to grow in. And even as just a young person, like I find that the hardest part of life is my mind. And so I usually just jump to I'm gonna die. And then it's like you plan, okay, what's gonna happen after that? How do I make sure it all works out okay? Like for you, was it helpful to not even have to say that? Not and have those questions or from kids or even family members, but kind of be able to live in the present completely without going to the last scenario.
Well, that sounds really healthy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, sounds really healthy. With my kids, that was what we told them. With my husband, I dumped everything, all the fears, all the worries. And he had a mantra that was really helpful. He said, "We don't worry until we're not going to worry until there's something to worry about." So there were forever that with each step of it, there were risks, there were possibilities. We don't know if this will work. We don't know what this scan's going to come back like. We don't know what my blood work's going to be like this. Every step there's like, is it getting better or worse? And so that really was helpful to have the limit of let's not worry about that until yeah, it was very you can't cross all those emotional bridges at the same time or you will just crash. And when I did cross those emotional bridges, I did crash. So also, poetry kind of served as a limiter or a gate for me. It kind of
Hmm.
it let me dump those things when they were going on. And you can see that in the poems that my what ifs and my wonders. Poetry served as a place to put those before the face of God and also just before the face of me. Putting them on paper in front of me got them out of my head where they would spin around. I would love to say that I'm someone. Uh, I look forward to the day, and this I think won't be till Jesus comes back, until I live just in the moment
I know.
all the
Yeah.
time, you know? But especially with some sturdy ADHD going on. I do a lot of trying to compensate for thoughts being all over the place. Yeah, so writing is very much a coping mechanism. I wrote these poems for me in the process, and then
Mm.
decided it might be helpful to put them all together and share them.
Did you struggle with fear at all as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all the immediate fear. Okay, so my immediate after what's going to happen with my kids? My next two thoughts were I don't want to die and I really hate needles. And there's just a whole lot of needles. And I mean, in the process of cancer, lots of blood draws. So yeah, I had all manner of fears. Yeah. There's the fears of loss of uses of parts of your body. There's the fear of dying. There's fear of pain. There's fear of being limited in what I'm capable of doing. That, another one for me is I don't know, do you speak Enneagram? Is this a
I
thing?
yeah, I get what you mean. Go ahead.
Okay, so if your people are into the Enneagram, and I can say it without an Enneagram. I really do tend to believe that I'm kind of special. I tend to think that I am the only Katy that there is. God has made me like I
Yeah.
am, and I'm the and so and I think I'm very yeah. I tend to. I'm pretty sure I overestimate exactly how interesting I am. But one of the things that was such a slight and so dignity taking is that when you have cancer, people want to talk about cancer all the time. It is, and you kind of have to. It's good to talk about it when you need to, but it's so boring. I'm like, I'm not a cancer patient is not the primary thing about me. I'm very interesting in many other ways. So there's that too. Like it was the loss of like good conversation. It was the loss of laughter when people thought that yeah, when it kind of flattens you into a one-dimensional character, when they see you as cancer
Mm,
patient and put you in that realm of all the other cancer patients that they've seen in movies, as
yeah.
opposed to no, I'm Katie. I sing, I write, I make really good coffee and make good biscuits. I like to garden. I'm a terrible dancer, but I like to do it anyway. Yeah, yeah, it's frustrating and it's scary. Yeah, because I really want to be known.
Was it hard for you? You know, one thing I've always wondered, especially with women who have breast cancer, you know, though, like breasts for a woman are part of her body and something that looks odd when gone. Like, just to be honest, like it is a part of a woman's biology. And so I've always wondered if you lost a part of it, you know, how do you feel? Do you feel lesser than? Is it hard for you if your spouse? Because even me being married, when I think about it, I'm like, that would be really devastating for me and to lose my hair because like these are like things they're not perfect by any means. They're, you know, there's always someone you think looks better than you, whatever, but you do want those things and treasure them in a way to, you know, because they enhance your beauty to you, you know? For
Uh-huh.
you, what was that like having to lose those things for a time? Well, I
Uh,
mean, the hair
yeah.
for a
No,
time, but
they're gone. They're gone. No,
yeah.
I had them both removed and had and I decided to just have a double mastectomy and stay flat. I didn't want more surgeries. They were no longer going to be useful or pleasurable to me. And yeah, there was no real that my husband and I made that decision pretty quickly. Hey, can I answer that more fully with reading you a poem?
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Yeah, I because I wrote a poem called Concerning the Removal of My Breasts. So I
Yeah,
was like,
please
oh,
do read it.
yeah. It's time to take a good look at losing my breasts. At least sometime soon it is. It never really seems like a good time, but it is a fixed point on my timeline before which I will have breasts, after which I will not. I remember the first time I could tell others were aware that I was wearing a bra. I was in Germany. I was 11. We were in a guest house ordering dinner, and I was wearing a pink Lands End turtleneck, and it caught someone's eye, and I turned red from the neck up. Then it's a question of how to acknowledge them as an adult, a point of beauty, a delineation of my shape. Finally, breasts, you fed my babies for 27 months each. You delivered some wizard woven magic milk that talked both ways, listening to my children's needs, changing the concoction accordingly. I am so grateful. I am so proud. I am in wonder. Just before the realization of cancer in my breasts, I told my friend I'd been thinking about breasts. How at this season, it'd be nice to be able to just screw them off and put them on the shelf much of the time. This is a season for doing, for creating, for working. Breasts feel largely superfluous. Not always, but largely. They do not feel primary to my femininity, to my humanity. So there it is, off they will come. Whether the second needs to go is debatable, but I say let's make a clean breast of it. Let's make it through scarred and brave and keeping what's worth keeping, and by all means, throw off what hinders. So yeah, so breasts are wonderful. I mean, God made them because yeah, they give pleasure. They're beautiful. They give milk, for goodness sake. It is amazing. All of the um yeah, they're one of those things that are a beautiful part of being a woman. But and so I'll go and say like it's a part of me that is feminine that's lost, but I feel no less body and soul feminine.
Yeah.
And there's part of me, having been through the process of this, I suspect that I've considered them more deeply in some ways than a lot of people have ever had to.
Yeah.
And the thing that's most true of me is that God made my body, made my life, and I can handle this for now. I'm going to get a new body one of these days, when God makes everything new. In the meantime, this one has got all manner of scars and has been through some stuff. And just like as I get older, I'm getting wrinkles, I'm getting gray hair. I had to lose these because they were occupied territory. So I can deal with that. It was funny in that funny is not the word, but it didn't take very long to make that decision. It does make wardrobing a little tricky. I had to change the kind of necklines I wear. I have to say there's a part of me that every so often it sounds like it'd be really fun to go topless. And I did it once on a beach when nobody was around. Um, yeah, we've done my husband and I have gone back and forth. I was at a concert last night and it was hot and I was like, man, it'd be really nice to just take my shirt off. I wonder what would happen because I still think it would shock people, because I'm a woman, even though I don't have breasts.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's such an interesting question. I never even thought about that.
You
I
probably
don't know.
haven't had to.
I mean, in some ways it sounds kind of nice because you're right. If you're hot, there's not really much we can do. There's a
Mhm.
limit to how far that goes, but
Yeah, that is a cultural moray right there. Yep.
oh, you know what? Cultural, explain that. That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
I mean, there are cultures where women don't wear shirts, right?
Yeah.
But where where breasts are shown and they're still sexual, but no one's giving that a second thought. in the sense that there's not I guess we could get into a whole discussion about sexuality there, about what a woman is when a man is looking at her, and also just what she is. Um, because there are plenty of cultures where women don't wear shirts at
Yeah.
points, and
Mhm.
there's how about this? There's no idea that up she was asking for it. There's more of a that is a woman, she is beautiful, I respect her. That makes sense?
Y- It does. I was gonna ask you though, do you think that's something that we could change about the culture at this point? If it could be, because I feel like our culture is very sexualized, which causes a
You're
lot of
talking about
pressure
the
for a
United
lot of
States
people.
here, right? Yeah. Like you're
Yeah.
talking about American culture. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's something that I don't know if that could change to the point where it wouldn't be sexual anymore?
I think that would be very hard to do in America, because it is deep in our deep in our roots in a lot of ways. On the other hand, there have been lots of great discussions about it, lots of great discussions about women's bodies. Um, yeah, I think that's an active discussion. And I don't think we should be unsexualized in the sense that we're sexual beings, but learning to look at people as whole people,
Yeah.
and also going, I am a sexual being, you are a sexual being, and we respect that. And obviously, I should not be crossing that boundary, unless you are my spouse.
I know
Um,
I find that hard just because we're fallen. So you have this
yep,
there's this beauty to be had and you see it and appreciate it. But at the same time, because we're fallen, it's almost like that's just the next spot, it's the next jump.
for sure.
Um,
And there's a lot of people who do really good talking about healthy sexuality, and what that is. I think there's so much room for a really good, healthy discussion among Christians about that. There's a lot of people
yeah.
doing that really well right now. Yeah. A lot of
Do you,
books I could recommend. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, for you personally, what do you think could improve in how Christians view and talk about sex?
Oh gosh, this isn't really my wheelhouse. Let me think about that. Well, I think we fall off both sides of things. And when you say Christians, I guess it depends. It's a really wide range of Christians and how they understand bodies. How about this? I'd recommend first, David Taylor has a new theology of the body called A Body of Praise.
Yeah.
Um, it's a really good one about what bodies are for, on a number of counts. And another good one coming out that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about yet, so I better wait on that. Yeah. I think I'd go
But
there first, just like what bodies are for.
but are you able to share maybe your personal opinion on it?
So raise the question for me one more time.
Oh, sure. I was gonna say, for you personally, in the experiences you've had, because you are a Christian, you're a woman. So to some
Uh-huh.
extent, you've been able to kind of be involved in this discussion. What, for you, um, do you think Christians could improve on how they view or talk about sexuality and sex in general? Do you think there's a more
Um,
healthy way
mhm.
Christians, or a more biblical way that Christians could embrace the topic?
Well, how about we start with sex is very, very good. Um, I do absolutely believe that sex, like the actual act of sex, is something that should be protected by the bounds of Christian marriage.
Yeah.
I also think the way that Christians talk about it is often fearful, and is often, more shaped by the culture than by scripture.
Hmm. Hmm.
More being worried that we're going to be permissive, or that we're going to be, that our take. I think we do a lot more reacting than we do looking, at God has made us beautiful. He's known us since before we were born.
Hmm.
He's made sex a really good thing.
Yeah.
It's also a really strong and powerful thing. And I think like every other aspect of how we're made, our bodies, our minds, our um, all the things that are part of the makeup of who we are, they're all things that God looks at lovingly and are to be
Yeah.
cared for well.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not doing a very good job with it because this is a huge discussion. But I think I'll start there. God made our bodies really good. Yeah, we're fallen and broken, and so our affections, our what we want and what
Yeah.
we long for, those are disordered in all of us. How about that too? I think Christians have a way of looking over the fence and saying those people over there have broken sexuality. I have broken sexuality. I am a
Yeah.
woman
True.
married to a man
True.
and a monogamous marriage. And we have broken sexuality
Yeah.
because we're humans. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think
That's re
that,
I was gonna say, no, that's very powerful to think about. I think it is easy to Christians, yeah, I mean, it's easy for all of us as believers to think that we're better than, or somehow we found some secret gold key to, internal knowledge while other people haven't. And there's truth that we have been, our eyes have been opened, but slightly, right? I mean, we're still learning and growing in the Lord. And so being able to see others for the humanity aspect and also realizing that we were once lost or not sure and pursuing our desires above what scripture says and still do in a broken way at times. um
yeah, no, that's something that is a daily sorting out.
yeah.
Yeah, of how to um not in my sexuality, in my work, in my everything, not to just do what I want, but to do what I was made for and to love God and love others, you know?
But isn't that interesting, because in the way we live now, in the culture we live, what you want is what you were made for. It's the same thing.
Tell
And it's
me,
in
try phrase that another way for me. Help me out.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, in our culture, a lot of times what you want to do becomes your identity, who you are.
Uh-huh.
And we start seeing people based on what they do or how they identify as, but it's really just what they love or what they desire, and that becomes who they are. But it's
And some
interesting, and
people, uh-huh.
I was just going to say, it's interesting your phrasing that you're saying. There's what we desire, and then there's who we are, and those are two different things.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, interestingly, though, I mean, you love poetry, and that is a part of who you are, is that artistic expression at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Um, for you, for the poetry aspect, did you always love poetry even as a child, or did that come more as you grew up and were kind of experiencing different things in life, or did you always enjoy it?
I've always loved words and I've always loved music. And it's always been a pretty blurred line for me between among words and rhythm and music. Those all kind of swirl around together for me. So I don't know if you notice like aspects in my poetry. I love alliteration. I love the way things sound.
Yeah.
I love the rhythm of lines. I love increasing the rhythm. I love slowing it. I love chopping it up and messing with it. And I love to see if I can make the flow of my words. Can you hear the train in the background? I love to
Yeah.
see if the flow of my words can match the rhythm of how I'm thinking in my brain.
Hmm.
Or yeah, I love that. So, but yes, I've loved words and writing in this or that form since I was little. And most of my career, I've sung and written songs.
Yeah.
And then along the lines, and I've written poems all along the way. But when I got cancer, it really concentrated down to poetry because poetry is really rubber meets the road language. It's
Yeah, it
really,
is.
it is concentrated language. It's concentrated emotion. And I immediately went to poetry. I wasn't writing songs during cancer. I was writing poems.
Hmm. Well, when you wrote your poems, and if you're looking back now, obviously you still write poetry, but is there a specific poem in your book that you go back to a lot that has a fondness in your heart for it?
Um, yeah, there's a few I kind of go to a lot. You want to hear one?
Sure, yeah.
Hang on, let me see.
You're giving spoilers here for people listening, but
Oh, I'm ha if you don't mind, I'm
yeah,
happy
please
to.
do.
I mean, if you don't share some, it doesn't seem very, it's like, I don't know, what in the world is in this book we're talking about? Let's see. I've got here, this is a little one. This is where the title of the book came from. It's called Sleep as War. I will not begrudge the bad days, for then are the vehicles valiant, victorious in throes of carcinoma. Then the rank rotting reels, there the nuisance is nevered away. Now I lay me down to fight, rest in God with all his might. I have no claim upon tomorrow, today is joy and war and sorrow. Fiercely now the battles joined in axillary node and groin,
Mm,
meta, micro, in between, trusting that which is not seen.
mm,
It's a little one, but it was kind of an anthem to me. And in my head, I had these like rally to war speeches like Henry V, and I had,
yeah.
and I had Aragorn. I had those in my head, these rallying ones. And at the same time, I wanted to pair that with like now I lay me down to sleep. Also, it's the way that I'm going to war right now. What I can do in the face of it is to rest and let others care for me. Let doctors, my family, the medicine in my body, um, God care for me, and
Mm,
trust that others are that the way that I can fight right now is, as my friend Margie Hack says, to collapse into Jesus's marvelous hands.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I can do.
Katie, I have one more question for you. What attribute of God? Because we know God's attributes by his word, but at the same time, it doesn't always become heart knowledge until we experience something where that attribute is very clearly seen in our
Hmm.
lives. What attribute for you at this point in your life means the most to you about God?
Hmm. Well, the one that's coming to mind is God with us.
Hmm,
Um, I'm in the middle of this thing is called an Ignatian retreat, where it's 10 months of um, spending time in prayer and Bible searching for finding the love of Jesus. And um, God came on our behalf, he came for us, and he came with us. And Jesus
hmm,
came as friend. And he knows what it's like to be in a human body on this
hmm,
side of the fall. He came to be with. And that meant a lot to me during cancer and since, that he came to be with, um, that he comes near and that he's for us, um, and that his heart um, goes to all of the hard places that our hearts go to, that he knows what it is to be heartbroken, that he knows what it is to have friends fail you, to
hmm,
have your body hurt. He absolutely knows what it's like to see the ravages of death and sorrow. And
yeah.
he came and he loved and he loved and he loved. So I'm going to go with God with us, that attribute, the way that he fiercely and passionately comes close to us.
Hmm. Well, Katie, thank you so much. And for listeners again who are listening, you'll see a link to her website, which has a little bio about her, as well as a link to purchasing her book, Now I Lay Me Down to Fight. And I highly encourage, I mean, even if you're not going through cancer or a chronic illness, I think they're powerful truths about God that you can remember and hold on to. But Katie, thank you again so much for your time, and it's been such a gift to talk with you about your story.
You as well. Thank you so much. Thank you for all those good questions. You made me think.